They say Black women are magic, strong, unbreakable, the backbone of families, the saviors of communities. But let's be real. At what cost? We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, sacrificing ourselves, grinding through pain, and smiling through struggle. Because that's what we've been taught. Be strong. Don't cry. Keep going. But sis, what happens when strong becomes a prison? When the weight is too much? When we're so busy being everything for everyone else that we forget to be something for ourselves? Today we're breaking the silence. We're peeling back the layers of the strong Black woman trope, where it comes from, how it's shaping our mental health, and most importantly, how we can reclaim our softness, our peace, and our right to be human. Because strength should never come at the expense of our well-being. Welcome back to Life Points with Ronda. Ladies, this episode is for us. For generations, we've been told that we are the strong ones, the nurturers, the problem solvers, the ones who hold it all together when everything else is falling apart. And while there's power in that, there's also pain. The strong Black woman trope is something many of us wear like a badge of honor. But deep down, it's also a heavy burden. We are expected to be unshakable, to endure without complaint, to push through exhaustion, heartbreak, and trauma, all while making it look effortless. But at what cost? Our mental health is suffering. Our emotional well-being is being sacrificed on the altar of strength. And too often, we are left feeling unseen, unheard, and unsupported. Today, we are taking our power back. In this episode, we're going to unpack where the strong Black woman trope comes from and why it still exists, how it impacts our mental health in ways we may not even realize, why it's okay to be soft, vulnerable, and cared for, and most importantly, how we can begin healing from the pressure to be strong at all costs. So, grab your tea, find a comfortable space, and let's have a real heart-to-heart conversation. Because today, we're choosing wholeness over exhaustion. Before we dive deep into this important conversation, I need you to do something for me. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you or someone you love has felt the weight of always having to be the strong one. And sis, we don't have to carry it alone. So let's spread this message. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Life Points with Ronda. I drop content that will uplift, empower, and help us all move toward healing. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon at Life Points with Ronda. This is where we continue these conversations, build community, and support each other in living our best lives. And most importantly, share this episode. Because every Black woman deserves to know that she is more than just strong. She is worthy of peace, rest, and softness. Now, let's get into it. From the time we are little girls, we hear it. Be strong. Black women don't break. You don't have time to be weak. We watch our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties move through life with unshakable resolve, holding families together, working long hours, sacrificing their own needs to make sure everyone else is okay. And somewhere along the way, we learn that our worth is tied to our resilience, that being vulnerable is a luxury we can't afford. That saying, "I'm not okay," is something we just don't do. That admitting we need help means we're failing at being strong. But here's the hard truth. That's not strength. That's survival. And survival is not the same as living. The strong black woman trope was never meant to be a celebration of our power. It was a coping mechanism, one that has kept us from acknowledging our own pain and seeking the support we deserve. And the consequences, they are real. We overwork ourselves into exhaustion. We ignore our own emotional needs. We suppress our pain until it turns into anxiety, depression, and burnout. We stay in toxic situations because we've been taught to endure rather than lead. This is why we need to talk about it. Because true strength isn't about how much we can suffer in silence. It's about learning to take care of ourselves, set boundaries, and reclaim the right to be soft, cared for, and emotionally safe. So, let's take a deep breath and ask ourselves, what would it feel like to let go of the weight? To understand the weight we carry, we must first understand where it comes from. The idea that Black women must be strong, unbreakable, and self-sacrificing is not something we chose. It is something that was forced upon us. From the days of enslavement, Black women were stripped of their humanity, expected to bear unimaginable pain without complaint. We were forced to work in the fields, endure violence, and care for families that were not our own, while being denied the right to care for ourselves. The world saw us as less than delicate, less than feminine, less than human. And so the myth of our indestructibility was born. Even in freedom, this expectation did not fade. During Jim Crow, segregation, and the Civil Rights Movement, Black women were not just mothers, daughters, and wives. We were the backbones of our communities. We were the caretakers, the warriors, the providers, the ones who held everything together when society was trying to tear us apart. And even though we carried the burdens of racism, sexism, and economic oppression, we were expected to do it all without breaking, without resting, and without needing support. Fast forward to today, and the strong Black woman stereotype has become a double-edged sword. On one hand, it speaks to the incredible resilience, intelligence, and power that we possess. But on the other, it traps us in a cycle where we feel obligated to be everything for everyone except ourselves. Think about it. How many times have you held in your tears because Black women don't cry? Put everyone else's needs before your own, even when you were struggling? Felt like you had to be twice as good just to be half as respected? Ignored your own exhaustion, telling yourself to just push through? We have been conditioned to see self-sacrifice as a virtue and vulnerability as a weakness. But that's the biggest lie of all. Because true strength is not about enduring pain, it's about choosing healing. And today, we're making that choice. Let's go deeper. The psychological toll. How the strong Black woman trope damages our mental health. For too long, we have carried the weight of this expectation, believing that it was our duty to be strong. But what happens when that strength turns into emotional suffocation? When it becomes a mask, we wear so well that even we begin to forget what's underneath. The reality is that the strong Black woman trope comes with a heavy price, a toll that many of us don't even recognize until we are completely drained disconnected, and on the verge of breaking. The invisible battle with anxiety and depression. Many Black women struggle with high-functioning anxiety and depression, but we don't always recognize it as such. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that as long as we're getting things done, we're fine. We push through exhaustion, suppress our emotions, and convince ourselves that we have no time to fall apart. But here's what that really looks like. Feeling overwhelmed, but telling yourself, I just need to push harder. Struggling with sadness, but calling it stress instead of depression. Waking up tired, going to bed exhausted, and never feeling rested. Smiling in public, but crying behind closed doors, afraid to be seen as weak. Black women are less likely to be diagnosed with mental health disorders, not because we don't suffer from them, but because we are more likely to suffer in silence. The expectation of strength keeps us from seeking therapy, admitting when we need help, or even acknowledging our own pain. The weight of emotional labor. From childhood, we are often placed in the role of caretaker. We are the emotional support system for our families, our friends, and even our workplaces. We check on everyone else, making sure they're okay. But when do we ask ourselves, am I okay? This kind of emotional labor is exhausting. It conditions us to believe that our worth is tied to what we can give to others, rather than who we are. And because of that, we internalize guilt when we prioritize ourselves. This is why many of us feel guilty for setting boundaries, afraid to say no because we don't want to let anyone down, responsible for the emotions of everyone around us. But sis, hear me when I say this. Your peace is not selfish. Your rest is not a luxury. You are not a machine built to serve others while neglecting yourself. The superwoman complex, burnout, and physical exhaustion. One of the most damaging effects of the strong Black woman trope is that it convinces us that rest is a weakness, that we must always be productive, always working, always grinding. But the body has limits, and when we ignore them, we suffer. Studies show that Black women are at a higher risk for chronic stress-related illnesses like hypertension and heart disease, sleep disorders caused by anxiety and overwork, emotional burnout that leaves us mentally and physically exhausted. We have been taught to normalize exhaustion, to function in a constant state of survival mode, running on fumes, while convincing ourselves that this is just how life is supposed to be. But it's not. We don't have to wait until our bodies break down to start taking care of ourselves. We don't have to earn the right to rest. We don't have to prove our worth through pain, because being human is enough. So today, I want to challenge you. What would it look like if you let yourself be cared for? If you allowed yourself to be soft, vulnerable, and held? Let's talk about that next. Reclaiming our right to softness, vulnerability, and rest. For too long, we have been taught to equate strength with struggle, as if our ability to endure pain is what makes us worthy. But what if we redefined strength? What if strength wasn't about how much we can carry, but how willing we are to put things down? What if true power wasn't in pretending we're fine, but in admitting when we're not? As Black women, we deserve more than just survival. We deserve wholeness. And that begins with reclaiming the parts of ourselves that have been denied for generations. the right to rest, without guilt, without shame, the right to softness, to be nurtured, supported, and cared for, the right to say no, without feeling like we're failing someone, the right to vulnerability, to be human, flawed, and in need of love, just like everyone else. But I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice. But how do I actually start? Giving yourself permission to feel. Many of us have spent years suppressing our emotions because we've been told that Black women don't have the luxury of falling apart. But the truth is, holding everything in doesn't make us stronger. It makes us numb. So, start small. Ask yourself, how am I really feeling? Not the surface answer, not what you tell everyone else, but the real, raw truth. And then, let yourself feel it. Cry if you need to. Be angry if you need to. Sit in your emotions without rushing to fix them, because your feelings are valid and they deserve space. Breaking the cycle of overgiving. Black women have been conditioned to be caretakers, to pour into others until we're empty. But we must start asking, who is pouring into me? Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I feel obligated? If I disappeared for a day, a week, a month, would the world really fall apart? Sis, you are not the world's emergency contact. You are not required to exhaust yourself for love. Start setting boundaries. Start saying no without explanation. Start choosing you, normalizing therapy and emotional support. For many of us, seeking therapy or emotional support feels like admitting defeat. But sis, healing is not weakness. Healing is wisdom. You do not have to carry everything alone. Find a therapist, a mentor, a sister circle, a safe space where you can unpack the weight you've been holding. Because you deserve support just as much as you give it. Practicing rest without guilt. Rest is not laziness. Rest is resistance in a world that tells us we must always be productive. Rest is self-preservation in a society that expects us to put ourselves last. So, start honoring your body. Take a nap. Unplug from stress. Do something that is just for you, not for work, not for your family, but for your soul. Because you do not need to earn the right to rest. Redefining strength on our own terms. The world will continue to tell us that we must be strong, independent, and unbreakable. But sis, we get to decide what strength looks like for us. Strength can be asking for help. Strength can be choosing peace over chaos. Strength can be walking away from what drains you. Strength can be letting yourself be loved without conditions. The strong Black woman trope was never meant to uplift us. It was meant to keep us silent in our suffering. But we are so much more than strong. We are worthy. We are human. We are enough. And today, we choose softness. Creating a new narrative, a future without the strong Black woman trap. Now that we've unpacked the weight of this trope and the damage it has done to our mental, emotional, and physical well-being, the real question is, where do we go from here? It's not enough to simply recognize the problem. We must also be active participants in our healing. We must unlearn generations of conditioning that told us we must endure rather than be cared for, that we must suffer rather than be supported, that we must give endlessly rather than receive freely. So how do we rewrite this narrative? How do we break free? We prioritize our mental health without shame. The first step to rewriting our story is to stop seeing self-care as a luxury and start seeing it as a necessity. Therapy is not for other people. It's for us, too. If we can break our bodies for the world, we can also heal our minds for ourselves. Seeking professional support doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Journaling, meditation, mindfulness, and reflection aren't just trendy wellness habits. They are lifelines. We need outlets to process our emotions in healthy ways because bottling up our pain is what got us here in the first place. We release toxic relationships, romantic, familial, and friendships that drain us rather than replenish us. Being a strong Black woman does not mean being a sacrificial lamb for people who refuse to pour into us. We teach the next generation that strength is not just suffering. For our daughters, nieces, and younger sisters, we must be the ones to break the cycle. Instead of teaching them to be strong at all costs, we must teach them that their softness is not a weakness. It is a gift. That they are worthy of care, protection, and support. That saying, "I need help," is not an admission of failure. It is an act of self-love. That they are allowed to rest, to set boundaries, to say no. When we lead by example, when we choose healing over martyrdom, peace over struggle, we create a new model of womanhood for future generations. We let go of the fear of being too much or not enough. Society has placed Black women in a constant double bind. If we speak up, we're too aggressive. If we are quiet, we're too passive. If we demand respect, we're difficult. If we struggle, we're weak. If we succeed, we're intimidating. Enough. We are not here to shrink ourselves to make others comfortable. We are not here to live up to impossible standards that were never meant to serve us. We are here to be fully, unapologetically ourselves. And that means rejecting the pressure to be perfect, invincible, or endlessly strong. We embrace community and sisterhood. One of the greatest lies ever told to Black women is that we must handle everything alone. We are not meant to walk this journey by ourselves. Lean on your sister friends, your elders, your mentors. Build a circle of women who pour into you as much as you pour into them. Ask for help. Allow yourself to receive it. Because strength does not mean isolation. It means knowing that we are stronger together. We give ourselves permission to be happy. At the core of it all, we deserve joy. Not just survival, not just resilience, not just the ability to withstand pain. We deserve happiness. So let's ask ourselves, what brings me peace? What fills me with joy? What makes me feel whole? And then let's commit to doing more of those things, unapologetically, without guilt, without hesitation. Because we are so much more than strong. We are beautiful. We are divine. We are enough. And we deserve to be free. Closing thoughts and call to action. Ladies, we have carried this burden for far too long. We have worn strength like armor, but armor is heavy, and no one was meant to carry it forever. The strong Black woman trope may have been created to keep us in survival mode, but today, we choose something different. We choose healing. We choose peace. We choose ourselves. Let this be the moment where you give yourself permission to be more than just strong, to be soft, to be loved, to be whole. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. If this episode spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with another Black woman who needs to hear this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Life Points, with Ronda, 2968. and let's continue this journey together. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon at LifePoints with Ronda for more content that uplifts, empowers, and reminds you that you are enough, just as you are. Because this isn't just a conversation, this is a movement. And we're just getting started. Until next time, take care of yourself. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are so much more than just strong. Thanks for joining me on Life Points with Ronda. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more relationship tips and life advice. Looking for more in-depth conversations and exclusive content? Visit my website at lifepointswithronda.com. Discover insightful podcasts, blog posts, and resources that will help you build stronger relationships and improve your daily life. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for daily inspiration and updates. And remember, every relationship starts with you. Let's make life better together.